Season 3, No More Nice series. This episode is entitled Recognizing the Cost of Adapting Ourselves to Emotionally Unsafe Environments. Some healing seasons may reveal how often and how deeply we slowly adapt ourselves to environments we never truly felt safe in. And sometimes leaving these environments becomes less about being rejected and more about finally recognizing what our nervous system has been trying to tell us all along. Because not all environments harm us loudly. Sometimes dysfunction slowly becomes normalized through repeated adaptation. Like the frog sitting in lukewarm water. The temperature changes so gradually that survival starts feeling normal until the environment eventually becomes emotionally unhealthy and dangerously toxic for our spirit, mind, and body. Today, we're talking about toxic silence, relational bullying, group conformity, emotional adaptation, nervous system conditioning, and the physiological cost of remaining in emotionally unsafe environments for far too long. Hey y'all, I am Madison Samone Chase, also known as Miss Chase. I was raised by an incredible single mom who is my biggest fan, my bestie, my BFF for real, my best friend for real. I am a celebrity certified personal trainer, fitness and wellness expert, and sports and entertainment media host. I was born in Fort Worth, raised in Dallas, Texas, and built in Los Angeles, California. I trained at Juilliard in New York City with the School of American Ballet, becoming the world's only 3-time ESPN Miss Fitness champion, appearing in over 450 fitness DVDs and infomercials. The first of those DVDs was led by the GOAT celebrity trainer, Gunnar Peterson, known for training the Kardashian family. As a certified celebrity personal trainer myself, I've worked with Robert Pattinson of Twilight and Batman, Chris Tucker of Rush Hour, and Amber Riley of Glee, Dancing with the Stars, and The Masked Singer Champion, to name a few. And as a sports and entertainment media host, I've had the joy of interviewing Richard Branson, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Emma Stone, Viola Davis, Tyler Perry, and Tiana Taylor. Those are some of my favorite interviews and people that you would recognize. I share my story to honor the millions of sacrifices my mom planted in me so that I could blossom into the woman I am still becoming. So, if you're listening at home, pull up a real chair. If you're listening online, pull up a digital chair and grab yourself some hot herbal tea or cold. And welcome to my cozy home of Cut to the Chase at 8, now C2C8. Her Circle, which stands for High Performing Empowered Women and Empowered Men who are ready to thrive. It is a 15-minute micro learning moment for macro living. And I am so overjoyed that you are here because this is where we explore life and lean into life, spirit, mind, and body through lived experiences, yours and mine, and intentional growth and hopefully decision making and transformations. So join me daily for just 15 minutes, twice a day at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Central, because this is your daily pause for a cause, for clarity, for wellness, for allowing grace in this space, in this season, whatever season you may be in, and for intentional decision making. Each episode, my offer to you is 3 keys and 1 reflection question. My prayer and my hope is that these 3 keys are something that's practical, something grounded, and something we could sit with and carry with us throughout our day. So let's start with taking a breath together. We're going to inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's cut the noise. Let's get clear. Let's get ready. Let's get set. And let's grow. Our healing seasons are journeys. And there's never quite like a final destination because some healing seasons can be a sprint And sometimes they could be a marathon, and sometimes they're a decathlon. And then sometimes these journeys reveal how often and how deeply we adapted ourselves to environments we never truly were safe in. And not only were we not safe in, we were not meant to feel safe in those environments. And sometimes leaving becomes less about being rejected or being ostracized and more about finally recognizing with our eyes finally opened to what our nervous system had been trying to blur and what it's been trying to tell us all along. Sometimes that awareness comes quietly through a still small voice in our spirit, and sometimes it's screaming at us, but we've normalized the chaos that we stay in it. And sometimes it shows up through emotional exhaustion, confusion, hypervigilance, heaviness, relational anxiety, dread, mental fog, or constantly feeling emotionally like we have to brace ourselves. Because the physiological implications, those matter too. Those matter in our spirit, they matter in our mind, and they matter in our bodies. And some environments do not only drain us emotionally, they could slowly impact our sleep, our concentration, our digestion, our breathing, our emotional regulation, our nervous system stability, our ability to trust ourselves, our clarity, our peace, our voice, and advocating for ourselves, and even our relationship with safety. The body often absorbs what the mouth keeps trying to minimize and sometimes silence. And sometimes our spirit feels heavy long before our mind and spirit and body fully understand why. And this is a part I am still learning too. I love to hear people say, "Oh, I am healed," where healing is a verb, it is an action, it's something that we have to participate in. Because sometimes dysfunction does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes toxic and potentially harmful dysfunction slowly becomes normalized through repeated adaptation. Again, the example that I gave earlier in the teaser for this is it's like the frog sitting in lukewarm water. The temperature changes so gradually that the frog that's being cooked and boiled keeps adapting without fully realizing the environment that it's been is becoming harmful. And by the time the water reaches a dangerous temperature, the dysfunction has already been settled and normalized. And then the frog is cooked. And so repeated exposure to emotionally unhealthy environments can slowly condition the nervous system to interpret emotionally instability as familiar. Our nervous system can start to interpret that instability, that emotional instability, as it's familiar. I've been here before. And what once should have felt emotionally alarming starts feeling emotionally ordinary. And this is where our discernment can quietly become distorted and blurred because some environments normalize toxic silence, group conformity, relational bullying or dominant bullies, passive aggression, social hierarchy, socioeconomic hierarchy, and socioeconomic status, emotional unpredictability, and gossip. Sometimes that gossip can be, it could also sound like, oh, I'm praying for this person, or bless your heart, exclusion, emotional withholding, or indirect communication, or just plain ghosting and or abandonment. And after enough repeated exposure, people can slowly begin adapting themselves in order to emotionally survive the environment. And that could look like laughing when something does not actually feel funny, allowing jokes aimed at you where someone is revealing their insecurity or their truth. And it's when you start correcting those moments that you finally start using your voice and setting very clear boundaries. And sometimes they're not clear, they're still fuzzy because you're working your way through it. At least I am. And staying quiet to avoid becoming the next target or the next punchline of someone's joke. It could look like over explaining to avoid exclusion, suppressing discomfort to maintain belonging, monitoring the emotional atmosphere before speaking honestly, and emotionally shrinking to remain acceptable. Because if you were truly accepted, then this toxic environment would not push you out. It would be something where everyone was welcome and their differences and their voice would all be celebrated. And so eventually survival starts masquerading itself as peace. And that realization shifted something for me because not all silence is maturity and not all people of a certain age are mature. Just like I learned a simple and valuable, mature lesson from Caleb and Elena, two fifth graders. And sometimes silence is fear. Sometimes silence is intimidation. Sometimes silence is emotional punishment. Sometimes silence is bullying. Some silence is relational control. And some silence is the nervous system trying to avoid conflict inside emotionally unsafe environments. And what becomes clear for me during healing seasons is that emotionally unhealthy environments, unhealthy people, often train people to disconnect from their own discernment in order to preserve this feeling of belonging to a group that was never meant to include or contain us. Because sometimes people stop asking, what is a healthy relationship? What is an honest two-way communication? What does that look like? And what feels safe? And what feels like reciprocity? And instead begin asking, what keeps me included in this group? And what keeps the room comfortable? And what keeps attention away from me? And what keeps me emotionally protected inside this group? And when group dysfunction becomes normalized through repeated adaptation, emotionally unhealthy behavior can slowly start feeling ordinary instead of alarming. And that's where our healing journeys become uncomfortable because recovery often requires relearning what emotional safety actually should feel like. And it is a verb. It is something that we have to put in action. And so we're learning what healthy communication sounds like. We're learning what reciprocity feels like. We're learning what consistency looks like and feels like. We're learning what honesty feels like in your spirit and your mind and your body. And then we're learning what calm feels like, what peace feels like. Because when emotional unpredictability becomes normalized, the nervous system may stop recognizing peace as familiar. And this is why healing is not only emotional awareness. Healing is allowing our spirit, our minds, and our body to experience safety without constantly preparing for disruption. And sometimes the hardest part of healing is realizing how long we kept overriding what our bodies already knew. Which brings me to the three keys. Key number one, some emotionally unhealthy environments slowly normalize dysfunction through repeated adaptations. And over time, the nervous system can become conditioned to survive emotional instability, like toxic silence, relational bullying, exclusion, gossip, prayers, the disguised as gossip, passive aggression, or unhealthy group dynamics by constantly remaining emotionally alert. What once should have felt emotionally alarming slowly starts feeling emotionally familiar. Which brings me to key number two. The physiological implications matter too in our spirit, mind, and body. Emotionally unsafe environments can gradually impact our sleep, our digestion, our heart rate, our mental clarity, our emotional regulation, our breathing patterns, our nervous system stability, self-trust, peace, and our overall sense of emotional safety. because the body often absorbs what the mouth continues to silence and try to minimize, which brings me to key number 3. Healing often requires relearning what emotional safety, reciprocity, honesty, consistency, calmness, and discernment actually feel like. And sometimes leaving unhealthy environments becomes less about being rejected and more about finally recognizing what our nervous system had been trying to communicate all along. Our one reflection question: where in my life have I slowly adapted myself to emotionally unhealthy environments, group dynamics, silence, inconsistency, relational bullying, or emotional instabilities in ways that may have disconnected me from my own discernment, peace, or emotional safety? So before you go, I want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. It has been an honor to sit with you, and I am praying for grace in this space. So let's quickly revisit today's 3 keys. Key number 1, some emotionally unhealthy environments slowly normalize dysfunction through repeated adaptation. Key number 2, the physiological implications matter too, in our spirit, our minds, and our bodies. Key number 3, healing often requires relearning what emotional safety, honesty, reciprocity, calmness, and discernment actually feel like. And our one reflection question: where in my life have I slowly adapted myself to emotionally unhealthy environments, group dynamics, silence, inconsistency, relational bullying, or being the butt of a joke, or emotional instability in ways that may have disconnected me from my own discernment, peace, or emotional safety? So if today's episode offered you clarity, grounding, or a pause for a cause you didn't know you needed, or if there's anything that I've shared today that pricked your heart or lit a spark, please subscribe and share this with someone you care about. And leave a comment so that this isn't a monologue, but a dialogue. And please leave a 5-star rating if you feel led, or send me a text because it helps the space to grow and reach others. Let's close with one breath again. We're going to inhale for 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. and again at 8 p.m. Central. This is Cut to the Chase at 8, C2TC8, H.E.R Circle, which stands for High Performing Empowered Women and Men Ready to Thrive Circle. I'm Madison Samone Chase. Let's cut the noise. Let's get clear. Let's get ready, set, grow, and go, and be great. Blessings to you and yours. Until tomorrow.